Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for October the 6th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry. Hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week, it is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. So if you enjoy the show and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But today I have some very big news for fans of Payday. Payday 3 has been reconfirmed to be in development, but now it's on the Unreal Engine. In a celebratory tweet to mark 100,000 followers, the Payday Twitter account revealed the news with a cheeky tweet featuring a lead hacker breaking into CrimeNet to find out the news. Payday 3's existence was confirmed as far back as 2016, but this new tweet adds that the game is currently in the design phase and is being built within the Unreal Engine. The switch to Unreal is notable, given that Payday 2 was built using Overkill's own diesel engine. It may be that we see Payday use the impressive Unreal Engine 5. A release date for Payday 3 is yet to be announced, but this is the first news we have heard about the game in a while, which suggests that more information may be on the way soon for fans of the co-op heisting franchise. It's heartening news after Overkill's The Walking Dead flopped, causing major financial trouble for publisher Starbreeze, which was the subject of reports saying that it might not survive another year in 2019. Of course, the game has continued to get updates ever since its release, with Breakfasty in Tijuana just arriving a few months ago in June of 2020 within the world of Payday 2. This is a very important release to get out towards the beginning of a console's generation, and I'll explain why. If you look at Payday 2, although it might not be at the forefront of everyone's mind, it has remained a very popular game throughout the entire generation. And if you can replicate that, you can have Payday 3 essentially become Payday 2 of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. It is essentially your ultimate heisting simulator, and people really enjoy that. And so if you look at the direction the team is trying to go, I think this game is probably going to be released within the first 2 to 3 years after the release of the consoles. Now that still sounds like a good ways away, and it is not within the launch time frame, but if you look at a 7 to 8 year life cycle for most consoles, that still gives a solid 5 years of Payday 3 being dominant. Now, of course, that is assuming that the game is good, that is assuming that the model is player friendly, that is assuming that people still want to play Payday, because player expectations and desires can change vastly. But ultimately, Payday 3 could be a very big win for the team at Overkill, and again, Payday 2 was so strong that it essentially carried multiple companies through multiple bad decisions. That's when you know you have a really popular game on your hands. So we'll see how Payday 3 begins to shape up. I do believe it's going to be on Unreal Engine 5. I don't see why it wouldn't be. If they began developing on 4, it's very much so worth the investment to go ahead and get that next generation upgrade through Unreal Engine 5. But speaking of next-gen upgrades, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered arrives in November with cross-platform multiplayer, and of course it includes all the original DLC with some graphical and gameplay updates. Earlier this year, Criterion Games announced it would be taking the helm for the Need for Speed video game series. A little later, there was a very brief glimpse at the next-generation technology the company will implement for an upcoming entry in the series, but we probably won't see that game until next year, since in November we are getting a remastered version of Criterion's first Need for Speed game, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. The game originally launched 10 years ago for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC, and was generally well received for its fast-paced gameplay and return to the series' roots of exotic cars and picturesque locations, running from police or chasing after the criminals, depending on whose side you were playing on at the time. This remastered version will mostly be the same, but with a number of enhancements. One of the big ones will be a cross-platform multiplayer system, just like Need for Speed Heat. This way, no matter what system your friends pick to play the game, you can all play with each other. All of the downloadable content for the original game will be included from the start, which Criterion and EA says includes 30 challenges for an estimated 6 more hours of gameplay. More car colors have been added, as well as vinyl graphics for additional vehicle customization. Some gameplay aspects have been streamlined, such as an improved photo mode, and of course the graphics have been given a bit of a sprucing up for the upgraded hardware. The game launches on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on November the 6th. It will also arrive on Nintendo Switch on November the 13th. Pricing has not been announced, but it certainly should not be more than about $60, which could possibly be less, of course, since it is a remaster of an old game. I hope that this is $40 because it's really looking like a $40 game. Now, the official reveal trailer doesn't really give too much detail as to what you can expect from the game itself, aside from a couple of glimpses at gameplay in between this little narrative where the guy is like an adult now and he goes back and he buys the game from his childhood and gets to race an old rival. You understand what I'm saying. So, if you look at the gameplay itself and if you look at the screenshots, many people are calling the game out. Make no mistake. It looks good. It's a fine looking Need for Speed game, and quite frankly, I'm probably going to buy it because I'm a big fan of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the concept. Not necessarily the 2010 game, but games that came out way back in the day. I'm talking about, these that have just the classic cop versus bad guy gameplay. Love that stuff. I like this game, but if you look at the game that is currently out, the 2010 version on PC, the upgrades are marginal at best. And so, this is more of an update for consoles. This is bringing the game from the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 up to at least the par of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox Series X, or I should say the Xbox One X. Of course, the game is going to be backward compatible on all of the next-gen consoles, so you don't have to worry about that. But really, the big benefits here are crossplay and, of course, slight graphical upgrades. Of course, it could look even better on next-gen hardware, but ultimately, at least the game is officially confirmed, and we can finally stop this game of cat and mouse where leaks come out and then they deny them or they don't say anything. It's much better to just go ahead and air the dirty laundry, so to say. Now moving on to some news about Cyberpunk 2077, the full map of Cyberpunk 2077's Night City has been leaked. Navigating a new city can be an absolute nightmare. Fortunately, finding your way around Cyberpunk 2077 should be a breeze with this paper map of Night City's urban sprawl. As spotted by Reset Era, several physical goodies from boxed copies of Cyberpunk found their way online this weekend. The pics are looking a little knackered, but the map gives us our first proper look at a complete view of Night City, finally putting the game's various districts and surrounding regions together in one complete picture. At a glance, Cyberpunk's looking a little cramped compared to Geralt's continent-spanning hunting grounds. That is to be expected since CD Projekt Red claims that Cyberpunk 2077 will be slightly shorter than The Witcher 3. Then again, Cyberpunk's urban sprawl should be packed denser than Novigrad with a verticality never offered by The Witcher 3's fantasy shacks. Fortunately, there's also a surprisingly broad swath of space given over to wilderness should you need a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. The leaked images also include a peek at some postcards depicting life in Night City. When it launches, the boxed copy will also include a reversible cover, stickers, and a setting compendium. So, of course, if you do want to check out the game, it is coming out on November the 19th, and it is confirmed to be coming out on November the 19th because the game has gone gold. Of course, that is according to an official announcement from CD Projekt Red. That means development is complete and the game is ready for mass production to meet its release date. Now, that does not mean that work on the game is ceasing. Of course, we saw reports last week of crunch that was being put into place at the studio because they need to finish the game before the deadline. They want to get it over with. They want to get it out. And of course, the first patch is what they're going to be working on now, where they are working on bugs that might have slipped through the cracks before the game went gold. So the work is continuing. This isn't to be read as, okay, finally they can go on vacation now with their millions of dollars. Not quite yet. However, going back to the map itself, talking about how dense it is. As the article does mention, this is a smaller map as compared to The Witcher 3, but on top of that, if you look at the density, I would much rather have a city where 20 blocks is packed to the brim with adventures to go on and people to talk to and explorations to have. I want something that at every turn there's an opportunity to start a new story or to add to a story that I already have going on. In The Witcher 3, it was beautiful. The countryside's phenomenal. It looked great, but I will say there wasn't a lot to do sometimes in certain areas of the map. That's not to say it was a bad game, but when you compare what you are going for between The Witcher 3, which is like this Renaissance tale in a way, for lack of a better term, a fantasy tale where it's almost like a Skyrim where there are these giant fields to just go across, and you compare that to something like Night City, which is this overcrowded, densely populated city, you really do have to be able to have more going on, and it looks like there certainly is more going on in the world of Night City. So of course, again, Cyberpunk 2077 launches November the 19th on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC, and it will come out to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X/S, with free upgrades for those that do buy the current gen version. But to round out today's show, we have some great news from the Xbox Game Studios team. Gamers have clocked up over 1.6 billion hours in Xbox Game Studios titles in 2020 alone. Xbox Game Studios, the collective name under which falls all first-party development studios, had a great year. As per Xbox Games marketing GM Aaron Greenberg in a new post on the Xbox Wire, quote, 1.6 billion hours, or I should say 1.66 billion hours of Xbox Game Studios games have been played in 2020, the most ever year to date for Xbox Game Studios titles. That is a lot of hours. The post also mentions that Sea of Thieves has surpassed 15 million players to date, up from 10 million at the start of the year. Obsidian's first game as an Xbox studio, Grounded, has attracted 1 million players already. Greenberg goes on to reveal that more gameplay for the Xbox Series X and S titles will debut at some point later this month, though more information about exactly what we are set to see was not mentioned. Quote, we'll be sharing even more details on every game being fully optimized this holiday for the launch of Xbox Series X and S later this month, Greenberg notes, as well as sharing more gameplay from these titles, so stay tuned for more. Between our growing Xbox Game Studios teams, the massive influx of high-quality content from our new partners at Bethesda, and many more unannounced games in development, the future has never been brighter for Xbox gamers, concludes Greenberg in the post. And so, it looks like we are finally getting some insight into how the Xbox Game Studios team is doing after all of the money and investment that Microsoft has put to bring this A-team together in a way. And you see some very impressive games on the horizon. Just in this graphic here, you have, of course, obvious ones like Halo Infinite, like Forza. Inevitably, there's going to be a Gears. Obviously, this year we have Gears Tactics coming out to the Xbox consoles, out now on PC. But if you look to the future, you have Hellblade, Senua 2, that's a big one. On top of that, Avowed looks like a phenomenal RPG. Speaking of RPGs, Fable is officially coming back. There are so many big games coming out that I think that this number will continue to grow and grow and grow. And with 1.66 billion hours played, that shows that Game Pass isn't just a fluff addition to your console lineup. That shows that people are actually playing games that are on Game Pass, because some of the best games that are on Game Pass are from Xbox Game Studios teams. Now, admittedly, I want to know the metrics that show what games are being played. Are we talking about a billion hours of Halo between the Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 Guardians? What is the split here? I would assume that's not the case. But of course, the big boys are going to be much more popular. You are going to see a lot more time dedicated to the Gears franchise, the Halo franchise, and the Forza franchise, because it is notable. It is the Xbox brand. But I would love to know, how many people are playing games like Battletoads? How many people are playing Minecraft Dungeons? I would love to see a graph splitting up that 1.66 billion hours. But no matter where they play, that's still a lot of time. And so it shows the investment, I think, is personally paying off. Of course, the next year to 2 years is really going to show how Microsoft has been investing, because the Xbox Series X and S launch timeframe is going to essentially pit it head-to-head with the incumbent, Sony, with a fantastic console on the horizon, coming off of one of the best generations of gaming ever. Very exciting times. But we'll see how all of this continues to shake out over the course of the next few months and years. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what you thought about everything we talked about here today. But specifically, are you looking forward to Payday 3? And on top of that, are you looking forward to seeing what Cyberpunk has up its sleeve this holiday season? Would love to hear your thoughts on those two games. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.